Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome back. Beautiful Monday, May 18th. Before we begin this lesson on the properties of circles, I just want to point out that you should have already watched the Ed Puzzle video, okay, and that counts as part of your classwork grade, 10 points, okay. And the assignment after this video is going to be for you to complete the IXL. It's 7.AA, and it actually doesn't have a number because it was just newly introduced this year. Okay, but if you just follow the link, it's on finding circumference of a circle. Okay, so when we begin talking about properties of circles, first let's talk about the parts of a circle. All right, so it says to label the parts of a circle. Obviously, hopefully you just came over from watching the Ed Puzzle video, and so we noticed that there are some parts to a circle that we learned. Okay, the first one, this one right here, is the radius, and the radius is the distance from the center of a circle to the outside of a circle. Okay, next we're going to look at this right here, and this is the diameter. And the diameter is the distance from one side of a circle to the other side going through the center. And I know that's something that the video kind of missed a little bit, but because he just said it's the distance from one side of a circle to the other side, but it has to go through the center. Here we're talking about the red part up here, okay, and that is called the circumference. And then there's one that he didn't talk about in the video, and this is any line that goes from one part of a circle to the other part of the circle, the outside, and that is called a chord. Okay, so you'll notice that the diameter, and I wanted to include this one just to let you know, the diameter is a chord that goes through the center of a circle. Okay, because a chord could go like this. Okay, a chord can go anywhere as long as it goes from one outside part of the circle across to another part. That's a chord. But a diameter is a special chord because it goes from one outside to the other, and it goes through the middle. And it doesn't have to be straight across flat like that. It could be like this, okay? That's a diameter also. And we should also be aware from the video that if the radius is from the center to the outside, if I make this radius and then I make another radius that goes like this, I can see that I have created, using two radii, that I have created one diameter. Okay, so that's really key for today's lesson, is that 2 radii equal 1 diameter, and that is why we actually use the formula pi equals 2r. 2 radii make 1 diameter. All right, now the video also touched on circumference, and that's what we're really going to focus on right now. And circumference is the ratio of a circle's, pi is the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter. Okay, and circumference is like perimeter of a circle. It's the outside distance. Okay, so we use pi. This is how it's spelled. Pi, not PIE, and this is the symbol. It's a Greek letter. Okay, and since pi equals the ratio of the circumference to the diameter, we can actually get a formula to find the circumference of a circle. If I were solving for circumference, I would multiply both sides of this equation by d, and I would find that c equals pi times d. And that is, in fact, our circumference formula. Now, we notice that there's another circumference formula too. There are 2 circumference formulas. And that is because, if you remember from the warm-up, d equals 2 radii. So if I wanted to replace d with what it equals, then c would equal pi times 2 radii, or c equals 2 pi r, because remember, the order that you multiply things doesn't matter. So that's where these two formulas come from, okay? So if you ever need to find the circumference of a circle, you can use either one of these formulas. Now, why do we need two? The reason why we have two, and again, we don't need it because we could convert a diameter to a radius or a radius to a diameter. We can figure that out. But the reason why we have two formulas is because if we're given the radius, then we'll use this formula. And if we're given the diameter, then we'll use that formula. Okay? So if you're asked to find circumference, the first thing that you should do is figure out, do I know the radius or do I know the diameter? All right? If you know the diameter, then you're going to use this formula. If you know the radius, you're going to use this formula. All right. The other thing that I want to point out is in the video they talked about the fact, I'm going to go to the last page. In the video they talked about the fact that pi equaled 3.14. And notice how I use a squiggly line, and that's because it approximates 3.14. Pi goes on forever and ever and ever and never repeats. So we can't actually say pi equals whatever. I mean, on your calculator, the one that we use in school, if you use the pi key and you hit equals, it's going to say 3.141592654. It continues to go on forever and ever and ever. For this class, because we don't have our calculators, we all have different calculators, I want you to use 3.14 for anything that we're talking about with pi, okay? If you were using your calculator at school, you could actually just write 2 and then hit the pi button, and it will automatically enter a value for pi. We also have an approximation of pi, which is 22 over 7. Now, 22 over 7 is not equal to pi, but if you turn 22 over 7 into a decimal, it's 3.142857. So it's kind of close to pi. But we're not going to use that, so don't worry about this. This is the one I want you to use. I want you to use 3.14 for anything concerning pi for this class, for this year, okay? And in the future, that's not going to be, but for this class, it will be, okay? So you'll see here they use 22 over 7. You're going to use 3.14 for anything. All right, so if you want to find the circumference of this circle, the first thing you're going to do is decide, do you know the radius or do you know the diameter? Here we know the diameter, so we're going to use c equals pi d. We write c equals pi d, we replace pi with 3.14, and we replace d with what we know, which is 8. Then you do 3.14 times 8, and you get that c is about equal to 25.12. Do you notice that as soon as we put in a value for pi, the equal sign went to a squiggly equal sign? It's because as soon as we put a value in for pi, it's no longer exact. It's approximate from then on because we're using an approximate number. Okay? For B, now we're given the radius. So we're not going to use c equals pi d. We're going to use the formula c equals 2 pi r. All right? And then after we write c equals 2 pi r, they use 22 over 7. You're going to use 3.14. So you would do 2 times 3.14 times a radius of 14, and you get about 888, which obviously you would get something a little bit different because you'd be using 3.14 instead of 22 over 7. All right, so let's practice a little bit. We are not going to use 22 over 7. We are going to use 3.14 for everything, okay? So, number 7, the first thing you ask yourself, are they giving you the diameter or are they giving you the radius? They're giving us the diameter. So we're going to use the circumference formula with diameter, which is C equals pi d. Then we're going to rewrite. We don't know the circumference. We're going to use a value for pi, so we're going to change it to the about equal sign, 3.14 times, and then the diameter is 12. And then you go and you actually use your calculator to do 3.14 times 12, and you get 37.68. And the label is meters, because remember, if we're doing perimeter, we're going to do just units, because it's an actual distance that we're doing. So don't forget your label, okay? All right. Number 2, the next one. Again, we are given diameter. So we're going to use C equals pi d. And then we're going to fill in what we know, which is we're going to fill in 3.14 for pi. We're going to fill in, now I'm going to show you, we can write it this way also. That means multiplication. And then when we do that, when we do 3 times 3.14, we get 9.42 with a label of feet. And finally, on this one, they're giving us not the diameter, but the radius. So we're going to use the radius formula, which is C equals 2 pi r, which just means 2 times pi times r. C equals 2 times 3.14 times 21. And you can plug that right into your calculator, and you get C equals 131.88 inches. Okay? All right. Email me if you have any questions, but that should be all the information that you need. Go over this in the video, and in order to do the IXL, which I want you working on, after this video. Okay? Good luck, and I will talk to you later.